Alrighty, so as at the time of recording this, there is an event going on in-game where double the wind sources are dropped whenever you farm the bird. So it's a really good time to sort of just farm in general. And at the moment, there's only so many relics out. There's obviously more that get rolled out every so often. But I just wanted to go over some of the ones that I have in the game and some of the ones that I'm wanting and sort of give you, I guess, maybe recommendations on which ones I think are actually good and which ones are maybe not as good that you don't have to really worry about. I do want to say that whether or not you're wanting to build any of the relics to begin with, it probably is a smart idea if you're able to do the bird at the moment, to try to farm it a little bit to where you're at least sitting on enough materials to make at least one relic, I would say, just so that way, if a relic comes out in the near future, you already have those mats already like ready to go. You don't have to, run the bird 15 times in a row to get all of the wind sources that you need, because right now you can run it, only like 7 or 8 times and you'll get enough wind sources to do a whole relic. So that's really, really nice. Obviously, if you choose to do the bird instead of the deer for the week, you can get extras off of that as well. So it's not necessarily too bad, but it's a really good time to farm them. So we're in the human category of the box at the moment. You can see the only Bond relic that I have, or the only relic up here that I have in general, is just Purgatory Bond. I do think that he's probably one of the more solid choices as far as like relics go. It's nothing super crazy, but it helps him specifically, and it actually makes him a pretty good backline unit because you can kind of just throw him in. His relic will activate every time your team dies, and in the meta, as things go forward, things get just super crazy, overpowered, I guess, and there's a lot of potential for like first turn wipes, or just when they kill your team, it kills all of your frontline members at the same time. Not always the case, but definitely a strong contender to throw in the backline to potentially have a small comeback or something like that. Obviously, it takes some good merges and everything for him to be able to deal out big damage as soon as he comes in. But it's not bad. I don't know. It definitely makes the Bond team better, I think. I think it's a cool looking relic as well. But if you're not really into Purgatory Bond, you can probably skip it. I don't really like using him in the back line, but he's okay. He can bring up your CC and stuff like that sometimes, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I haven't built any of the original bonds at the moment. I do plan on farming out enough of the materials to make the Brawler Bond Holy Relic, just because I really want to get Ragnarok Bond at some point in the near future, hopefully, and that way I can go ahead and just already have the materials, or I might just go ahead and craft this one, so that way I have it whenever I get him, because Ragnarok Bond is a really nice backline unit. Having the relic will just increase his CC by a little bit, just give him that little bit of an extra boost. So I do plan on building that one at some point this week, or maybe next week as the event goes on. But the rest of these I'm not really a huge fan of. I have a friend who got Gil Thunders thinking that it could be really interesting and could be pretty good, but he said that even after he built it, it was very lackluster and not really worth getting. So I'm taking his recommendation on that. I haven't really wanted to build this one. This one might not even use wind sources if I'm not mistaken. It does not. So I mean, if you farm the bird a whole lot and you end up getting a lot of these blue crystals, those tend to be the thing that people don't get enough of whenever they farm it. But if you end up getting a ton of those and you just have the extra materials on it, feel free. You can make some of these like cheaper relics if they don't require wind sources, of course. Just make those at your leisure. But definitely not like a top priority. I don't think Hauser or Gil Thunder, Griamore are that great either. I kind of sort of want to make Aliones because I think it's kind of fun, but it's not really something super useful. I do use him in the backline every once in a while, but he's not, you don't really ideally want him to come down into battle, so I've not really I've not bit the bullet on that one, and just went ahead and made it. But I did make Twigos because it's very, very good actually, and not only for the Bond team, but you can use it for like ult rush stuff, which is kind of cool. I don't know, it's kind of funny to use it for ult rush, but either way. Marmus is really gimmicky, so probably not worth it. I do kind of want to make Slaters at some point, just because I like the SR Red Slater for a lot of PvE activities, but because it's PvE stuff, I just haven't really gotten around to making it just yet. It is one of the cheaper ones where you don't have to have wind sources for it, so that's kind of nice. Simon's is, I mean, he's a rare unit, so it's kind of just for the memes, I guess. Jillian's is also not really all that great. Arthur's is actually pretty good. I think I get probably the most value out of Arthur's over a lot of other characters' holy relics, just because of how like good a lot of these Arthurs are. Like the red Arthur is just phenomenal in a lot of different scenarios. A lot of the demons and stuff like that can use him to a pretty high potential, which is really great. It doesn't always work on certain PvE events and stuff like that because they're immune to debuffs or whatever the case may be. But I feel like a lot of the times his is actually kind of nice to have, not only for red Arthur but for green Arthur as well. Kind of just a toss-up. If you use the character a lot, I do recommend it. I think it's actually a pretty good one. Regular Lilia, I'm not super interested in. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference, but I do want to make Awakened Lilias at some point. I actually had enough materials for it at one point, but ended up giving them to, I think, Merlin, because I was trying to pull the blue Lilia, and I still haven't pulled her yet. So until I get that one, I'm probably not going to build this one just yet, but I'm wanting to also farm out the materials for that one during this sort of boost event. I do have all of the Eskimo relics. These two use their own relic. I think it's okay. It's really flashy. I think it looks really cool. But altogether, I don't think it's like super necessary unless you just really like using the old Escanors. I think the new the one Escanor is probably gonna suit your needs for any other sort of gameplay if you have him. And speaking of which, his holy relic is kind of nice, I guess, but it's only for PvP, which is really annoying. And even then, it's not like a super great boost for him, I don't think. Ignoring 30% of defense sounds pretty decent, but it's kind of meh. It doesn't really increase his numbers by all that much. I think if you have the extra materials and you use them a lot, that was one of the biggest reasons why I ended up making it. So I mean, I can't really tell you not to make it, but it's not like it's not as good as it seems like it would be as far as I'm concerned. I don't use catastrophes, so I really haven't made any of them except for Shin, and the only reason I made Shins was because of green Shin. I actually use on my farming team, and it increases his damage for debuffed enemies, and his whole thing is, he can put on debuffs. I actually use him with my Arthur Relic because it puts a debuff on them at the very beginning, so he can basically use his weak point skill like right out of the gate, which is really, really nice. So I do kind of like that one. I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to speed up farming times and stuff like that, it can be pretty good. Zaratrons is literally just his passive, but it makes it work for PvP, and I'm not really a huge fan of that because I don't think Zaratrons would make a good PvP unit. But I don't know. I mean, you could make it for the memes if you really wanted to. Other than that, a lot of these are collab units, but I did just make Sigurd's today. I just got enough of the relic materials for that one, and I think it's pretty interesting. I think it looks really cool. But it is at the start of the battle in PvP, increases the hero's basic stats by 25% of the basic stats of the enemy with the highest combat class. So it's pretty good, I think. It's kind of interesting. I'm not super sure. I haven't actually been able to try it out yet. I don't know. Sigurd, I feel like, is kind of on the downtrend as far as being useful. He's just kind of getting like to the point where he's been out for a while. His stats really aren't that great. You need to have like a really gimmicky sort of like amplify team to get really any use out of him, and I mean, most of the time people just use him for his passive, so not really sure if I would recommend it. But if you use Sigurd a lot, then by all means. I mean, that kind of goes for any of these characters. If you use them a lot, then making the relic could also benefit you greatly. I also did make Brunhild's relic, and I think that her relic is actually pretty good, at least for the red Brunhild. I haven't tried it too much on green Brunhild yet, but the biggest thing that I like about it is that you can only have one debuff on, and most of the time, there's a pretty big debuff meta in PvP at the moment, and if you're using the green Brunhild to fight, any of the bird or the deer, they end up putting up debuffs on you like pretty frequently, I feel like, so you do get this attack sort of buff. The only thing that I don't really like about it, like whenever it first came out and it was just green Brunhild that was getting use out of it, you know, there's a damage cap on bird and deer, so it just felt kind of like redundant almost. Like, yeah, you can hit the cap easier with it, but it just, you're already not able to do like an insane amount of damage because of that cap, so making her do more damage didn't seem like it was really that great a fit. But I think overall it's a pretty good relic. I think if you use her a lot for those activities, or if you summon for the new one, by all means, if you want to grab that one, it's not a bad choice. Moving on to unknowns. There's not a whole lot here, so that's good because I've already been talking for a little while. But Gother is a pretty interesting one. The base Gother. I think a lot of people get drawn to this one because Gother is such a versatile and useful character, but this relic is really not great. It increases allies' basic stats by 1% every time the hero uses a buff or debuff skill, but down here it says limit of 10 times, excludes PvP, deathmatch, and the debuff attack skills. So for green Gother and red Gother, it does not work if you use his attack, which makes it to where it only works for the other Gothers, and it only works if you use rank up, and you don't get rank ups too often. I don't know, it's so limited that it makes it really bad. Plus it's a 1% basic stats boost. At the best you're going to get 10% basic stats, but that would require you to pull 10 rank up cards to be able to get full value out of it, and it's so minimal. It really it's not a huge difference. It gives you a little bit of CC, which is kind of nice, I guess, which was one of the biggest reasons why I think I built it. It also looks kind of cool. I'm not hating on it, but not a great relic, I've got to say. This is a newer one, Festival Gother, and I actually really like this one. I was not a big fan of Festival Gother, and then this came out and it really changed my view on the character. It made him a lot better as far as like running a support festival unit goes. And if you don't know, it increases allies attack related stats, so all of the attack related stats, not just attack, by 25% for 2 turns when the hero's ultimate move gauge is completely filled. And this is a character that does more damage when he has more ultimate move gauge in general, and he has the sort of disable and stuff like that you want to, you know, quit people from using, you know, buff skills and rank 2s or higher, which is really nice as well. So he's just become altogether like a much better support, and if you can rush his ult, all of your characters end up doing a lot more damage, and even he in general just ends up getting to do a lot more damage, which is very nice to see. So I think this is a super good one to have. If you use, you know, Festival Gother at all, I recommend it 100%. Base Merlin is kind of an interesting one. I think the best part about using this Merlin relic is that it kind of makes Rom from the ReZero collab a little bit obsolete, because it basically does the same thing. So her passive is increases unknown race allies basic stats by 20%. Maybe not exactly the same, but this one increases unknown race allies damage dealt by 35%. So it's a decent trade-off. Plus, paired with Green Merlin's passive, it makes her a really strong backline unit for the unknown team, which is very, very nice. I think that it's super good. Pretty big fan of it so far. I'm not saying that it's like a must-have or anything, but it definitely helps in certain situations if you're using like slime collab characters or just unknown in general. So that's kind of cool. Festival Merlin is kind of okay. It's pretty decent, actually. Increases the hero's attack by 20% when attacking a debuffed enemy, which is actually kind of nice because, you know, her Power Strike card already does a ton. That means, you know, you can just throw out your, you know, Infect card first, or if you have characters on your team who already applied debuffs, then, you know, it'll just increase the damage on this card too. And it just altogether brings her damage up just, you know, that little bit more, and she can deal out some pretty big damage. So I think it's a pretty good relic. It's not like super OP busted or anything like that, but I definitely think it's good. And then very last we have Miguelda, who I think if you have Miguelda and you're farming the bird and you don't have her relic, make it as soon as possible, because it just makes, you know, just fighting the bird in general so much better. You get so many more of her passive buffs and stuff like that, and it makes all of your characters hit a lot harder, and just it's fantastic, phenomenal relic, really great to have, especially if you're just just going to be farming more relics. So that's pretty much all that they have in the game right now. I definitely think that if you have the extra time and there's not any of these relics that you want to make at the moment, there's some cool humans and unknown characters that could potentially get relics in the future, so you could just sit on the materials to make those. Really interested to see what maybe Hawk and Oslo's would be, or maybe Nanashi would be a really cool one. Jormungandr, of course, is probably going to get one at some point, which could be cool. I'm really interested to see what Jericho ends up getting. Also, Death Pierce is one that I really hope gets a good relic. And then, yeah, of course, there's a really large amount of heroes in the game, so or humans in the game. So there's definitely room for more relics and stuff like that. So sitting on the materials for those is definitely not necessarily like a must, but I think it'll help you out. So that is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If there's any relics that you definitely recommend that maybe I don't have, feel free to leave a comment or whatever. I'll try to, maybe if it's like a good enough relic, I'll try to farm it out, I guess, while this event's going on, because I'm already farming it quite a bit. I'm getting a little sick of the bird, but definitely recommend that you farm while you can. So thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next one.